What you should know before you date or marry a foreign woman. And we will begin right after this. You have to be strong enough to endure these things. You have to approach women. With today's social media, she's constantly being hit on. Women are always in the game. You have to stay focused. We are men. That's what we do. What you should know before you date or marry a foreign woman. I know we have quite a few YouTubers talking about dating foreign women, leaving the US because they're not satisfied with the women here, and I certainly understand that. I have a lot of experience with foreign women. Mostly Latin and South America. I have been over to Ukraine. I met some women over there, but I really don't know too much about their culture. But I have learned a lot about the Latin culture. Okay, it's quite different from our culture. And these cultural differences can cause problems, unforeseen problems. I can only share with you my personal experience, what I learned from my relationship with my last ex-wife and a girl I dated from South America and another girl I just spent some time with from South America. And of course I have friends and some women I talk to from down there. Well, I've talked to many women from South America and Latin America in person, South America in person, and also online. It's a very different world down there. I do speak Spanish pretty fluently. I'm not 100%, about 85, 90%. I still study. But the culture is very different. Number one thing I want you to know is their family, unless you get a unicorn, is more than likely 95% of the time going to be first in their life. And we're not used to that up here in the US, because we have what we call a nuclear family. Down there, the family has to stay together because of economical reasons, and they've done that for generations. Also, the kids and the girls and the boys are expected to care for their parents when they get older. Now, I agree with that 100%. I cared for both my mom and dad before they passed. I didn't want either one of them to go to a nursing home, and they didn't have to. Fortunately, I've been an entrepreneur all my life, so I was in a position where I could do that for them. I didn't have a job that I was tied to, so I was able to help them, and they both passed away in the house, in the home, their home. Dad, we took care of for 4 years. Mom, she was only home a week before she passed. Basically, I brought her home from the hospital to pass. So, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because they could have gone to a nursing home up here and their Social Security, and they had money to pay for it. But in other countries, in Latin America and South America, they don't have all the nursing homes like we have here. And even if they do, which they do have some, that's only for the people of upper class who have the money. Most families down there have the younger children take care of the older people when they get older and support them, because they'll be out on the streets. They don't have the social system, the networks, the nets really, the networks that can take care of these older people. It's just a whole different world. So she's going to put her birth family right up there at number one, probably ahead of you. Even if you bring her up here, there's still going to be some big connections there, strong connections that you probably won't be able to come in between. So that's one thing you need to accept first. And if you're dating one, you may not hear from her for the whole day. Let's say you guys been talking, you've met her, you're talking, you text back and forth during the day, whatever. I would avoid too much of that. Fortunately for me, when I married my wife from down there, you can only call once a week, and it costs like, gosh dang, I don't know, $2 or $3, maybe $5 per minute just to talk. So we only did that once a week. Now we have this instant communication. So it's good and bad. But you have to understand the family structure is different there. They depend upon the children to take care of the parents, because if they don't, the parents are going to be out in the street. They will literally starve to death and be homeless. So that's why so many Spanish people come up here and they send the money back to their home country, their parents. The number one income in Guatemala, when I lived in Latin America, was people in the U.S. working and sending money back there. They're very loyal to their family. So that's one thing, because one of man's emotional needs is for his woman to put him number one above everything else. I mean, in my case, I had 6 kids with that one woman I was married to for 12 years. And she even told me, she said, if I don't quit spending so much time with my birth family, it's going to destroy our family. Talking about her and I and the kids, which it did eventually. Now, not every family system down there is that, I hate to use the word toxic or destructive, but what I didn't know then too was even the woman I was married to had 3 or 4 sisters and 1 brother. Now, when you marry into the family, you're also expected to help out some, especially in that case, because there was only 1 son and he was still young. I didn't know that. I venture to say that if I had given her family, let's say $100 a month, that my wife and I would probably still be together. But because I wasn't giving the family anything, her family, my wife's family, ex-wife's family, anything, they grew to be, how do I say, jealous of her, envious, maybe angry, or held me in disdain because I wasn't supporting the family. But coming from the U.S., I didn't see any reason for that, because I was still of the mindset of first world country. When I went to Latin America, that was the first time I had ever been out of the country. I didn't understand things then as I do now. And a lot of you guys traveling out to meet these more feminine women, and I understand that. I'm going back to Colombia or somewhere down there soon myself. I just came back from the Dominican Republic. I went to Cancun. I met a girl from Colombia there that I've dated before. Beautiful women, excuse me, beautiful women, very feminine, very submissive, more so. You know, the one I was dating and real submissive, she was quite a challenge. But in general, they're more submissive. But with that being said, you're not going to go down there and expect her to pay for half the date. It's just not the way it is. And that's not the way it used to be up here. I had a guy, I guess you'd call him a hater. I always talk about traditional relationships. And to have a traditional relationships here in the States is just about, unless you get into the Amish community or the Mennonites or something like that, or extremely religious girls, you're not going to find a woman who feels like a traditional relationship is good for her. Women up here are raised to have a career. I don't believe that's going to satisfy them, but anyway, the hater said, you don't want a partner, you want a slave. Well, I know you guys, if you're going to other countries trying to find a feminine, submissive woman, they don't like that word submissive. Think about it this way. You and I submit to the government, right? Even though we don't trust the government, most of us. And look at what we have. We have roads, we have schools, we have electricity, all these things. Okay, they don't have this in other countries. Some of the roads are like goat paths. That we have police protection. Where I lived in Latin America, there's less than a 1% charge rate on murder. That's not conviction, just charge rate. The value of life is not very high. I've seen people run over in the street, they leave them lay there. And it's always a hit and run if you can get away, because if you hit someone in the street and there's always people walking, it's your fault automatically. So you go to jail, regardless of whether the guy jumped out in front of you. So it's a whole different world down there. I mean, now, don't be afraid to go, because it's the same as up here. There are places you go during certain times of the day, and there's places you don't go during certain times of the day. Now, where I lived is somewhat like the Wild West. You get down in Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador, some parts of Mexico, it's very dangerous. And I'm not talking about the cartel. That can be dangerous too. But the police are very corrupt. And anyway, I'm getting off topic here. What you need to know about the women, the family is so important to them, because they need the family for survival. Not like up here. I got a food pantry right up the street from me here, where I see people going all the time. They're not skinny. In other countries, if they're needing food, they're skinny. They're malnourished. That's not the way it is here. The people going to the food pantry here are driving cars, and most of them are overweight or are obese. So it's a whole different world. So like I said, you can live. I remember talking to the girls from Ukraine, and I told them, I said, we'll go overseas for a second here. I said, you don't have to work in the US. And they just didn't understand that. Because here, you can get on any number of programs, get welfare, free schooling. Those girls over there were going to school. I think the girls I talked to were like 25 to 27. They were going to school, they were working, and they were also going to the gym. They lived in an apartment with a girlfriend or a couple girlfriends, and that's the way they survived. Same way down in Latin America. If they're not working or taking care of family, they don't eat. They need family to survive. It's not like that up here. So when you step into that, you're not going to know that at first. And also, you're going to get treated like a gringo. Okay, so whatever you do as far as buying directly from someone, you're going to get the gringo price. They have the Colombian price or the Latin American price, and they have the gringo price. So you're always going to get charged, not always, but you're going to get charged more. But back to the women and cultural differences. Now, that's something to be aware of. And partying, they like to party a lot. Party is very important to them, more so than it is to people up here, unless you're a hard partier like I was back until I was about 30. But even then, they still partied more than I do. It's nothing for them to party all night. Christmas time down there is completely opposite of the way it is up here. I mean, it's like a war. There are so many fireworks, and it starts at maybe 3 in the afternoon on Christmas Eve, and it goes till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And I mean, I'm talking something you wouldn't believe. You'd have to experience it. As we're up here, it's really silent. There's nothing going on. On Christmas morning, it's quiet. Not so down there. So there's quite a bit of difference in the way they celebrate Christmas. And as I said, back to the family, you have to understand how important the family is to the girl you're dating or the girl you're going to marry. As I said, if I would have paid her $100 a month, the family, the mom, basically the mom, we would probably still be married today because they would have supported us. I was not supporting her. Now, how many times up here do you marry a girl and you think about you have to support the mother or the father? Now, in this case, the father was an alcoholic. He had split up with the mom, so there was no father around. But even if there is, and they get older and not able to work, you're expected to help out. Or if they have a problem, they're always going to be looking to you to help out because we're rich. I mean, in their minds, we are rich because the standard of living is so much higher here. We make so much more money here. So what I'm saying basically is when you marry her or when you date her, you're dating the family. If you marry her, you're marrying the family. Quite contrary to what it is up here. You need to keep that in mind. Were I to meet another girl down there that I wanted to marry, I don't know if I want to do that. I've been married 4 times. But if I were to do that, I would want to know the family status, how that was, the father was working, how many kids there were, all that. And I would be prepared to help the family out should they get into a bind. Now, I'm not talking about a codependent relationship where they take advantage of you and you feel cheated. It's just a factual thing down there. There are many Latin Americans that live. You have the fathers, the mothers, the kids that are married, the daughter-in-law, the father-in-law, the uncle, the aunts. They all live under the same roof. Now you'll notice when a lot of them come up here, they'll share a house. There'll be 8 or 10 of them there, or maybe more. It's actually wiser than what we do. But they do that because that's what they've been doing for generations, because they needed to stay together for economical reasons, for safety reasons, and it just worked better. As I said, we don't do that up here, and they have large families down there. So family is so important to them, and that's something you really need to keep in mind when you go down there. But I do believe that there are more women, I'd say eligible women for marriage and to build a family with down there. But you have to understand these differences, because it's going to cause you problems if you don't. So I'm going to wrap that up. If you'd like to get my help personally or do a consultation with me, it's half off during the month of September, marksinspiration.com. And if you want to find out what my life was like in Guatemala, I have 2 books on Amazon. Coming Back Home, The True Adventure of Mark Daniels, and The Power Is Within. Check those out. I think that's it for today. I hope this has helped you. We'll talk more about things like this later, and maybe I'll be making a trip down there pretty soon. I'll do some interviews. Would you guys like that? Take care. Have a great day.